So if you want a larger tribute, please go to Examining Kubrick. I will try to do something there, but I want to take my time. I know this guy pretty well. Now, I don't know some of his more major works. Apparently, he was in Tootsie. And I know 80 Cinema, but I missed that one. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. He also did 9 to 5. Now, I know him from War Games, as well as this underrated Nicolas Cage Samuel L. Jackson vehicle called Amos and Andrew, a very weird kind of race comedy in the early 90s. A very weird comedy. Very good stuff, but very, very strange. And that's kind of Dabney as a whole. He's always played consistently very egomaniacal characters, not necessarily villains, but just characters that are hard to love and are, I guess, jerks. They act like jerks, true, but they're jerks for a reason. And that brings us to War Games, where he plays a nuclear designer who runs afoul Matthew Broderick. I don't want to spoil the whole film, but I will have to spoil at least some minor plot points, so warning ahead. This is such a great, clever film on so many levels. What essentially happens is, as you do, the US and USSR at the time are locked into a very bitter, escalating Cold War. And I'm going to have to be a little political that Reagan is a pretty evil, disgusting piece of garbage, but I think it's trying to be even handed about just how war and the war thinking is destroying both societies. So essentially, they're in a very tense period during the Cold War. And in comes Matthew Broderick just playing around with his computer, trying to play a hacker, and accidentally taps into his school's system and then decides to impress a girl because, it's Ali Sheedy and she looks fantastic. She looks amazing and is stretching out and she looks great in her yoga outfit. Anyway, she looks amazing. So he tries to impress the girl and says, hey, maybe I could break into the military. And he does. And he thinks it's all a big game. So he starts playing guerrilla warfare with his computer. And next thing you know, Joshua, the military computer, takes it seriously and says, oh, you want to play a nuclear game? And is like, hey, Matthew's like, hey, why not? And then, of course, Dabney finds out something weird is happening. They bring in Matthew Broderick, and Dabney, being the jerk he is, thinks, you're working for somebody, aren't you, kid? I mean, how could this happen? You're just a high school punk. What the hell's happening? How did you get into my Joshua? What is happening here? So it's quite a great performance. He's a very assertive guy. It's just so many great actors in this film. It's insane. We got Allie, we got Matthew. It is a who's who. It is an insanely great film on many levels. Performances, acting, directing, the special effects. Again, this is the early 80s. It does not look impressive, but believe me, at the time, I was like, I think I've seen this thing during the 80s when I was a kid. I think I've seen this thing like 5 times. Every time I was like, oh my God, are we going to die? Are we going to die? It looks fantastic for the time period. It does not age well in terms of special effects, but believe me, at the time, we are like, whoa, that is some really impressive technology. And the whole setup is very well done. It's one of his great performances. He has done other great performances, but for me, if I had to say, well, why are people talking about Dabney? I mean, yeah, he did some roles. Listen, he did a lot. He lived to his early 90s, so he led a full life. But I think this is probably his best performance. It's only a minor role, but it really encompasses what he's good at because he's not just a straight villain, nor is he just a jerk. He is what he is. He's just a very flawed character. This is the early 80s when we really thought, yes, it was all going to go away. That one mistake and both sides would have just destroyed each other and it all would have gone away. So again, I was just a kid, but even there, as a kid, you were kind of aware of just how pervasive nuclear war was and how incredible fragile the whole thing was, and that just one mistake and it all could have just been destroyed. Even if you're not into the 80s cinema, this is a very nice little capsule of his talent and of the anxieties of the time period and the very interesting acting style he does, which unfortunately we can no longer be blessed with. Again, he's more known for his comedic roles. I also like his Fox series. I was there for that too. That was fantastic. Please try to check out those episodes as well. So, a really great life, many amazing roles. You've got Mail, War Games, many amazing roles. Goodbye, Dabney. We miss you already.